I'd like to give Susan an opportunity to introduce herself and her work at Shoreline Community College before we get a little deeper into some of the things you were talking about. So, Susan?
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here with you all. At
Thanks.
Shoreline Community College, we have numerous professional technical programs, and we see our responsibilities as fourfold. Our first responsibility, of course, is to our adult students. And we want to make sure that these adults are getting relevant learning that will lead to a job. They're giving up their time, they're giving up their money, and we want to make sure there's a market out there for the jobs. The second responsibility we have is to our employers, to bring them skilled employees, skilled workers who are motivated and who really want to be in those jobs. The third is to the college. The use of college resources, which is so lean these years, we want to make sure that we are using those resources to the best ability that we have. And the fourth one is our responsibility to our community and to the economic development of our community. So I want to talk about two of my programs, if I could, my automotive and my manufacturing program. Great. And they're both IBEST, and it was mentioned by Kathy. I'm sure most of you are familiar with IBEST, but it is the integration of basic education and skills training. And what we do in these programs is we have a full-time discipline teacher. So I have a full-time manufacturing teacher, or I actually have four, because we have cohorts, and a half-time adult basic ed teacher. And it is the responsibility of the half-time adult basic ed teacher to bring into the curriculum the contextualized learning of especially communication and math. I'm sure you all know math is a huge problem in community colleges, and we're trying to make it so that students don't sit in a classroom and have to learn algebra all by itself. We are bringing the math to the actual discipline. So the students in the automotive are learning math as it pertains to automotive. They're learning math as it pertains to manufacturing, and it means something to them. They can actually see the reason why they're learning the math and the communication in these two. We have an outstanding 2-year program in automotive at Shoreline Community College, but we also found that we had adults coming to us who really had an interest in automotive, but they really didn't have the basic skills. And so we created a bridge program for these adults. And it's called our General Service Technician Program. It's our IBEST program. And it goes for a year, not the 2 years, it goes for a year. And the students there learn the very basics of automotive. And they can get a job at, say, Jiffy Lube or Les Schwab or Sears or someplace like that. Or they can then choose to go on to the 2-year program. A lot of them go out, get a job, and then come back and go into our 2-year program, which is great because then they've got that experience as well. And so with this particular program, we have found that we are attracting a diverse population of students. And I just want to tell you a story about how that worked for us. We have a very diverse population. In fact, I think at one point we had maybe 7 different languages being spoken. But they also, as part of the program, need to go out and do a cooperative, need to go out and put their knowledge to experience. And we have very close relationships with the dealerships in the Puget Sound area. But they're used to a different kind of student. They're used to our 2-year graduate students who are much more skilled and don't have as much diversity at that time. And so we kind of had a hard time trying to get a dealer to take on some of our ethnic diverse students. And that we have one particular dealer who's a great supporter of the college, and he went, yeah, okay, I'll take somebody on, no problem. What he found in a very short time was that his customer base grew, because all of a sudden customers were coming in because they saw somebody who looked like them and who spoke their language. And so now we have absolutely no problem placing these students because the dealers have seen the advantage of having this diversity in their particular dealerships, and their customer base has grown tremendously because of it. The second program that we have is our manufacturing, and being in the Puget Sound area, Shoreline's in Seattle, Aerospace is the big thing right now, and Boeing is our giant, no question. And Boeing,
Right.
even though the 787 has problems, it's flying. But we also have about 450 small manufacturing firms in the Puget Sound area. And so we have been developing aerospace manufacturing at our particular college. And so I have actually a full-time, daytime program. I then had a weekend program, and I just instituted an evening program because we have such an interest in this, and we have wait lists for all of our programs. It is a full year program. And we also get certificates, and after the first quarter, we give our students a certificate. And that has made a huge difference with our students, because if they had to wait until the end of the third quarter, a lot of them are like, well, I'm not doing well, or it's not going to get me anywhere. But once we instituted that first quarter certificate, we have close to 100% retention. They want to go on. They got a certificate. They learn something. They frame it. They take it home. They show their friends and neighbors. It's become a real sign of success for them. So in addition to the iBest, we went one step further, and we have a career navigator. And I know you're familiar with career navigators probably by now, but they wear two hats. So the career navigator wears the hat for the student, and she is the advocate. I'll say she because that's who we have. She is the advocate for the students. She helps recruit. She makes sure they don't get lost in this shuffle of advising and all the paperwork. She helps to find funding for them. She puts them into the classes. She helps with their personal problems. As many of you know, adult students have a lot of personal problems. So if they can't meet their rent, they don't have money for transportation, they need childcare, she is there to help them find help so that they can stay in the class. She also works, and then she also does resume writing, interviewing skills, and so on with them. She also works, her second hat is with the employers. She is out there all the time, talking to the employers, not their HR departments. That doesn't get you anywhere. She's talking to the lead people on the floor. She's talking to the people who are manufacturing on the floor, asking them, what do you need? What do you do? What are the skills? How many people are you looking to hire? So she's constantly in conversation with those employers. And so my second story is manufacturing. And we have a very diverse manufacturing population. I think last quarter we had 12 different languages being spoken in our classes. And we had one particular man who was Vietnamese. He was a physics teacher in Vietnam. Very bright, wonderful man. And he came into our program because he knew he would never get a job as a physics teacher. His English was not good enough. And he loved working with his hands. And so he came into our program. He became like a mentor to our younger students, did an outstanding job. And when he finished, he's like, well, I guess I'm not going to find a job. Oh, you don't say that to our career navigator. Absolutely not. So she went out and she was talking to all of these small manufacturers. They're like, well, if his English isn't good, I don't know. So she talked to one in particular and she said, do you have anybody from Vietnam here who's already working? And she found one small manufacturing firm that did. And she said, could he come in on the interview with our student while you interview? And the manufacturer said, sure, whatever. So the interview took place. It went pretty darn well. And in 3 months, that manufacturer came back to us and said, I want 5 more just like him. So there is a way to find jobs. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. But as you mentioned, it's personal relationships that count.
I love that story.
That's great.
I do too.
So it sounds like Shoreline and the programs in Kansas have both found a variety of activities to engage employers. Kath, can you tell us more about the goals and outcomes of the Career Pathway Summit that you were talking about earlier?
Sure. Again, I want to acknowledge the great support from the Department of Labor, the Health and Human Services, and the Department of Education, OVE in particular, and allowing us to have that early learning and early understanding of what Career Pathways needs to involve, and the support services and the planning and the tight engagement, the close working relationship with employers. At our first Career Summit, we started it off with some national speakers, including our friends from Washington. We had Jennifer McNelly from the National Association of of Manufacturers, the Manufacturing Institute. I'm sure many of you are familiar with her. That industry has done some remarkable work, and as a leader, in my opinion, in terms of defining and identifying the skill sets their industry requires. She spoke very specifically about the foundational skills, the professional work habits, and then the industry credentials, and in particular, national industry credentials. At our second summit, we went further with a particular sector, and the Workforce Alliance, our workforce partner, invited in the healthcare. And he does this on a regular basis, but he did it specifically in conjunction with the Career Pathways Summit, and invited large, small, medium-sized healthcare employers, and also our adult educators, our career technical educators, and our WIB, our workforce investment members. So they sat and listened carefully to the healthcare employers. We presented a draft plan of our Career Pathways Summit. Our Career Pathways model, kind of what we'd started, how we had stacked the credentials and where we had defined exit points. And they gave us great insight in terms of, yes, that's a great plan, or you need to tweak this, or industry's really moving to more BSNs. In addition to the LPNs, and they gave us really good information. But I think the remarkable, or for us it was historical almost, in terms that we brought all those people together so that we together, all those agencies and service providers, could better meet the needs of business. And we listened to them one time. We didn't have separate meetings. We didn't go all knocking on their door and saying, what do you need, what do we want to talk to you. But it was a combined effort. And I do believe that employers really appreciate when we can work together, strategic partnership, and leverage one another and deliver a higher quality workforce to them. The other exciting thing that happened in that second Career Pathways Summit is that we really began to discuss the roles that are kind of blended. We talked about the career navigator role. We talked about a case manager role that a public workforce system would have. And is it possible sometimes, some of that work is overlapping. Can that person report to two agencies? Can we share that work? Can we be more cost effective in that work? And again, better serve our adults and better serve our business as well.
Maybe eliminate some redundancy
Yes,
across
and sometimes,
agencies. And
absolutely, Michelle. Sometimes, if we're doing the same thing, it's okay because we all need to get that work done. But if we're doing the same thing and not knowing what each other are doing it, or doing the same thing to the same adult learner, assessing at the workforce center, assessing at the college, assessing at the adult education center, we aren't working very smart.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. At Shoreline, we brought those community-based organizations and workforce together into a one place. We call it a one-stop. And so when students come in, especially our adult students who it's a huge challenge for them even to step foot on a college campus. And when they come, we don't want them to get lost in the paperwork and the shuffle of everything that has to go on. So we have signs that say, here's where you go, and once they go down there, they are taken care of by the different organizations that work together with the college to help those students get into the program that they want.
Great. So Kathy, you've alluded to this a little bit, but how do you set up adult education to be a viable partner for employers? What kinds of things have been effective strategies for adult education?
Well, I certainly don't have all the answers, but I do know that adult educators, you have the answer because you have the most important thing. You have adults coming to you who are ready and eager to learn. They want to increase their education, they're ready for training, they're ready to change their life. You have the pool that our employers are saying, I need these people that are trained and ready for my jobs. So you have a remarkable asset that you can use. I know that many adult education programs are embedded with colleges, like the one Susan has. In many states it's the same. Working with your professional technical or career technical education and embedding that, I think, is just the best thing since sliced bread. I know that Kansas is copying, we call that research, what Washington is doing. And it is contextual learning that as good educators we've known for years is effective. But when we can combine those together, I think also having a really tight focus on industry credentials that business have defined. We are not the experts on what business needs and wants. We just need to listen to them. And again, many of the industry sectors have credentials written by business, for business, updated by business. Our only responsibility is to teach what they tell us to do, teach the industry credentials and make sure that we're getting our students up to the level that they employers need as an entry-level employee. I think the sector approach that we've talked about a little bit in healthcare and in manufacturing, Susan has. I know tomorrow when I'm back in Kansas, we will have a meeting in terms of diesel mechanics, and we have very different employers, BNSF, railroad. We have Case Holland that is agricultural. We also have the sprayer mechanics, and then construction. So those employers have many skill requirements in common. So it's more effective for us to find that base of the pyramid and for the businesses to agree upon what those common competencies are, and then they can specialize. They can go into railroad diesel mechanic, agriculture diesel mechanic, or whatever is most appropriate for them. I think the other thing, Susan's already talked about this, and I'm sure Chris mentioned it as well, and that is that career pathways that are aligned to real jobs, job openings, growth in your community or your region are critical. This means that we're going to have to work really hard and listen to our public workforce system to say, I can't find enough people here. I'm working hard. This company needs to hire 20. They've been struggling. They can't grow and meet all of their requirements because they can't find that qualified workforce. So our job is to fill that pipeline, ramp up, and then when all those retired folks are gone and the new employees are there and trained, then we have to ramp back down again. We have to be flexible. And that's hard for us as a college to figure out how to do that, but those would be a couple thoughts.
And you can probably share a little bit more about this as far as the national certifications and, from the ground level in your programs. Can you talk a little bit more about that, what that looks like in your programs?
So one of the things that we found as we met with employers was they're saying to us, okay, so somebody comes to us with a certificate from Shoreline, and somebody comes to us with a certificate from another college, and somebody from another college. How do we know what any of this means, and how do we know what their skills are? But when we began talking about third-party certifications, that's what got their interest, because somebody else could verify that these skills were being met. Somebody else is giving the certificate after tests are given, saying that the students have these skills. So in our manufacturing program, we have NIMS. We are NIMS certified. Our instructors and our students take the NIMS test before they finish.
And NIMS is?
National Institute of Metalworking Skills,
Okay.
which is under the umbrella of NAM, which is the National Association of Manufacturing.
Right.
We also have in our automotive, we have NATEF, which is the gold standard for service technicians. And I have an energy program as well, and our certification is NABCEP, which is a third-party certification.
Okay.
And what's great about this is students can go anywhere. They can go to Kansas. And the employer in Kansas goes on the website, finds their social security number and name, and knows exactly what their certificates are and where their skill levels are. And so it gives that benefit to students wherever they want to go.
Right.
That's a real bonus. We've done a lot of that work in Kansas as well around industry credentials, and I think it's such an added value to your students. Not only are they getting the academic credential, they're building their foundational skills, but they have a national credential that is, like you said, the gold standard.
Portability.
Absolutely.
And
yes, and mobility.
Who stays put anymore?
Exactly, who stays put. And when we began working with Boeing is in a tough place, as many businesses are today. As you mentioned, Kathy, people are retiring. And Boeing has told us that within the next 3 to 4 years, 50% of their machinists will be eligible for retirement. That's a lot of people. So that's why we are ramping up in the Puget Sound area with the community colleges. But our students aren't going only to Boeing. They're going to the smaller manufacturing, they're going to biomanufacturing, we have a couple in jewelry manufacturing, so that once they learn those foundational skills, they get the opportunity to go to different kinds of manufacturing, which is very helpful as well.
Yeah. If I may
Sure,
tell one little
sure,
story.
sure.
Academic credentials are valuable. That's the currency that we work in, credits and associate degrees and certificates. Some of our colleges, when we started talking about the importance of industry credentials, we received a little bit of pushback, and they said, well, all of our local employers know the quality they're going to get when they hire their Montgomery County Community College participants. I can say that because we don't have one of those. And that is true.
Right.
And local employers serve on local advisory boards, and they give input, and they make sure that local college has a quality program to meet their needs. However, Boeing hires from Shoreline. They also are hiring people in Kansas, in South Carolina, and in the
Absolutely.
Philippines, or I don't know where else.
Well, we're bringing back.
We want those
We're
back.
bringing them back.
So the company says, I need an international standard, actually. So as colleges, we need to say, yes, we'll provide our fine name brand, stellar product, but we will also add that national standard.
And
I
it's
mean-
also a plus for the faculty to know that their program, their curriculum is meeting national standards and is consistent throughout the country. So it's a real self-esteem for our faculty as well.
Going back to the student too, I would just add the point, how much of an opportunity did we give them if we opened up this much of the universe for them versus
Yes.
the
It's
whole
our-
universe?
Right,
our universe.
exactly.
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 Well, I was just going to, I guess, build on that to say that, and as you've met employers' expectations around credentials and, learner outcomes, delivering this quality workforce, how have you been able to facilitate ongoing employer relationships and expand those relationships?
So we actually have some employers who give a little bump in hourly pay to our students who have national credentials. But as you know, we all need advisory committees for our professional technical programs, and sometimes it's hard to get those folks to give up their time to come to the college or come to talk to us. And so I think the key is, first of all, our career navigator who's out there making relationships, but also listening to what those employers have to say and showing them that we are interested in providing their quality, skilled employees. We see it as a win-win for everybody. The employer wins and we win. And I had a mentor years ago who said, you don't go out to employers with your hand like this. You go out to employers with your hand like this. It has to be a partnership. They have to win and we have to win. And once they realize that they're getting skilled employees from you, from your college, and we have quantified that, it comes to be a minimum of about $25,000 for every year of training that we give our students, that we save the employer. Once they realize they're getting skilled employees, they will come back for more, and they will give us input as to how to keep those skills current as well.